Marinners for you.
For the past 2 weeks, the Yangming South has pounded her way across the North Pacific. On board, Asian-made goods.
Roger, thank you.
Everything from kitchen sinks to car stereos, all packed into the 1,700 containers. Twice a month, this ship crosses the Pacific. When it arrives on this trip just off of North America, it's the middle of the night and the start of the most dangerous part of its journey.
Go around now and stop engines for boarding, please. Okay, roger.
The coast here is a navigator's nightmare. Rocks, shoals, and vicious currents.
Safety first.
To help keep the Yangming South safe, local navigation pilot Larry Wilson is sent aboard. He must transfer from a pilot vessel to a 4-story tall rope ladder. A slip up here could cost him his life.
Worldwide, over the past 3 years, there have been over a dozen pilots killed by falling off the pilot ladder.
The Yangming South has survived wicked Pacific storms that threatened to knock her off schedule. It's now up to Larry to make sure she survives the last leg of her voyage.
The ship will be approaching First Narrows at 5:15, and we'll have 1.4 knots of flood tide behind us. Starboard 20. Family type 090. Alpha head, please. Starboard 20. So the challenge now is to get her slowed down. We're doing almost 9 knots with the tide behind us. We've got 45,000 tons of ship. Stop engine. We're just about a half a mile from the dock.
Under the bridge, they still need to get to the terminal.
Sun spirit of the 8. Let's switch down to 15.
About 15. Spirit 15.
Tugs at either end ease her into the dock.
Spirit half.
The little white mark on the dock this side of the containers, that's our bridge mark.
Basically, a parking spot that will allow cranes and big equipment to access the containers.
If we get too close, let me know.
Bridge is going between the 240 and 250 mark.
Stop.
Stop engine!
2 weeks, 8 hours, and 27 minutes after leaving Asia, the Yangming South is secured.
We call containers cans. On this ship, there's probably 3,000 cans total if it's fully loaded.
The ship is now in the hands of the Container Terminal's Carrie Liggy.
There's huge consequences if we don't do the job that we're supposed to do. And our responsibility is to get it out within the time that we have allotted to get it onto its next port of call.
With just 8 hours to move 340 containers off the ship and load 200 new cans, the terminal must run with precision.
And so as far as we're concerned, we can be able to handle that cargo? Yeah.
The movement of each container is coordinated in the central control room.
These guys are the guys that are watching the day-to-day operations. They've got the technology that monitors everything that we're doing out there.
The stars of the show are the 3 gantry cranes, each more than 10 stories tall. Their long arms can reach across the widest ships in the world.
Forward of toucher.
For the crane operators, success is measured in moves per 4-hour shift. Each one of these containers can weigh as much as 50 tons and could be worth millions of dollars. To make the departure deadline, each crane has less than a minute per container to lift, swing, and drop. 540 moves are planned for the Yangming South today. But there is already a potential problem. The weather forecast at the port is calling for high winds.
The sirens will go off and it'll start beeping when the wind gust goes over, 35 miles an hour.
Too much wind could send the container swinging, or worse, spinning, making it impossible to lift and lower onto the trucks. If the wind gets any stronger, the terminal will shut down. A delay that will cost big time and big money. And the Yangming South is already well into its day at the container terminal. Earlier, wind was threatening to shut down the loading, but for now, the cranes are still swinging. The wind speeds have dropped off, and the pace on the dock has been cranked up. The giant cranes are moved on rails up the terminal to reach new stacks of containers. And just when things look like they are running perfectly,
We got a whole track of creepers coming in.
Kerry is about to get hit with a new problem.
All we have is CN cargo on site, and we got to get it on the rail.
The railway is supposed to send a new train here every 4 hours. But this morning, a problem on the line means those cars didn't show up. Kerry must now scramble to keep up.
If that rail car doesn't get to us in time, we can't load it to the ship, and the same responsibility applies to us. If we don't get that container off that ship and onto that rail car, that could mean that that container doesn't get to its destination when it's required in terms of the time.
The ship's departure time is in jeopardy. The captain may now face a tough choice. Wait for the missing cargo, or leave without it. At the container terminal, half the load is off the ship. Strong winds that could have shut the terminal down are no longer an issue. But a new problem has cropped up. The Yangming South has been in port now for almost 6 hours. It's scheduled to leave in 2 hours. Cargo has been arriving by truck all afternoon, but a problem on the main rail link into the port has choked off train traffic.
And then we just ran out of cargo.
The crew at the terminal is worried. Containers bound for the Yangming South may be stuck on a rail siding somewhere.
Malfunction with the railway's engine off-site here.
It could delay the ship's departure, but when the crew checks the loading plan, they catch a lucky break. None of the containers on the broken-down train were bound for the Yangming. The ship in tomorrow does need those containers. Kerry has a little breathing room, but he still needs that train problem fixed fast.
So look at that 2030 finish and sailing at 2100. Okay.
When the departure time does roll around, the Yangming is still at the dock. The gantry cranes are still going strong, but Kerry isn't upset. The ship's captain has been asked if he wants to take on some extra last-minute cargo, a process that should take about 4 hours.
It's not uncommon for us to have a situation where the customer has an opportunity to load extra cargo. Extra cargo is extra revenue for them, it's extra revenue for us.
We'll leave at sunrise. By dark, the container ship has its load and is cranking up the speed to make its next city by morning. Running a big port requires big equipment and big ideas. Here, it pays to be industrious.